One evening, we were talking about goals and objectives. So I suggested to them, I said, we need a more ambitious goal. You know what we should do? We should open a high school. And they didn't hesitate. They said, so what would we do? And I said, all right, let me get back to you. Are you with me in this idea? So, because I'm not the most patient person in the world, if I'm going to do something, then I really want to do it immediately. Because if you look at high school, you're talking about 4 years that you have to impact the lives of students. And I had these parents that were thinking, okay, what about now? What's going to happen now? And I didn't have an answer to that question. So I asked if we could not become a unit district, could we become a standalone high school district? And the answer came back, that was no. And the last time I inquired, the law department said, let me send you the paperwork, and you definitely qualify to open a charter school.
Anyone who lives in the foundation district's boundaries can apply, whether, you went to the local elementary schools or were homeschooled, or even if you went to a private school. If you live within the boundaries of that district, you can apply. And all it is basically an application saying name, address, you have to prove that you graduated from 8th grade, and then you're put in the lottery. So it's not selective admission. I think that's a myth.
Where we're going to come up with this money to send them to private schools to go to high school and spend that type of money that should be really saved and spent toward college. So thankfully we didn't have to do that. Southland was opened, and the second year they were open, my son was eligible to go. So we filled out our application, got our name in the lottery process, and thankfully his number was called.
Once I made the presentation to the foundation district, I anticipated a no. I did not know at the time that only 3% of the appeals to the state board are approved. So I went in as an innocent.
For some parents, that didn't want to go to the public high school, the alternative was either paying for private school or going to the city and those kinds of things. So during my daughter's 8th grade year at a Christmas concert, Dr. Davis got up and said, we're going to start a charter high school. And it was like a hallelujah moment. We could have paid for her to go to a private school, but we didn't really want to. We're already paying property taxes and things like that. And figuring you'll have to pay some type of college costs. So not having to pay tuition for 4 years of high school, was something that was to be valued. But just even more so important, having an option.
This is my 4th year. I came from independent schools. I worked at an independent school for 15 years before this. And we had creative freedom at the independent school, and this was a natural jump for me because I have the public school, which I was always curious about as a teacher. So I get the public school setting, but we still have the creative license in the classroom.
It's really amazing because I talk to other teachers in some other schools, and each minute of every day has to be planned out and executed. And here we don't have to necessarily do that. Of course, we always have goals, we always have objectives, but to have that flexibility to do what we want is good. It encourages teachers to become risk takers. And yeah, you might have a lesson that doesn't go particularly how you wanted it to go on a certain day, but without those risks, I think that you got to be able to get the students involved and be creative. All right, decorum. Good morning, everybody. How are we doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. Hopefully everybody's ready to go for our first day of our mock Model UN on the South China Sea conflict. I guess the process really starts on day one. I was fortunate enough, I taught these kids when they were sophomores in my U.S. history class. So from day one, it was really easy just to come in, not have to learn any names. They know kind of my style. And so to get them to buy into these sort of programs, you got to make them stakeholders of the classroom, have some sort of ownership. And I've just found that this method of facilitating, rather than kind of getting up there and lecturing all the time, gets more buy-in because they're learning on their own. They're asking questions when they arise, and it's interactive and engaging.
Well, basically, what we were seeing was doing mock simulation of Model UN, so Model UN, basically. And we take on these roles as countries, and we portray our positions, mocking the United Nations Council in order to talk about world policies, in order to come up with resolutions to end, disputes that are going on around the world. Good morning, delegates. The delegation of Vietnam would like to say that we've been in a long-term rift with China, and we're sick of China imposing their harsh brutality upon us and other smaller nations. And the delegation of Vietnam would like to call upon these smaller nations to assert their independence from China, and we need to be able to go about in future recognizing without our dependence on China, so that way we can be able to stand on our own and build up our military forces in order to combat against China. Thank you.
One of the things that we do as senior team is me and Ms. Gruzius, the English teacher, we have a senior capstone research paper centered around global issues. So in the second quarter of our school year, the students have to pick a global issue of their choice, and they do some research. It's a problem solution paper. So if they pick the problem, they also have to start brainstorming resolutions to it. And it's done collaboratively between me and the English class.
They see that each of our subjects is not in isolation, that writing is writing across the curriculum, and they're going to be using that in every aspect of their lives, So by having all of our teams and departments working together, they see how all of these issues play out in other subjects.
And they believe that
Attention delegates, we have a new breaking news update. We need everybody to take their seats to take this in. The situation has changed.
This is CNN Breaking News.
This is Sherry Gruzius with CNN, reporting on a breaking international news story from South China Sea. China has fired a missile at what appears to be a tanker belonging to the Philippines. The tanker was reportedly traveling in a well-established international waterway. The ship was destroyed, with casualties reported. There has been no official response from either country. President Trump has been informed of the international incident and is in a closed cabinet meeting to determine a U.S. response. And now back to our regular programming.
All right, the situation has changed. You guys have about 2 more minutes for your unmoderated caucus. At 2 minutes, we will reconvene.
I like debating the world politics. I like listening to and learning about what's going on in the world, because we get so many different types of information from everywhere we look. So it's interesting to actually learn about things that are really important instead of just focusing on media outlets too, entertainment wise.
I've been here for 4 years. I have kids already coming back with stories, and I want to know how they do when they go out into the real world. I want to know what happens to them, and I want them to bring back their stories of success, because I know that we here at Southland have set them up for success in the real world.
I've heard back from 11 colleges now. I heard back from The Ohio State University just a couple days ago. Also got into Vanderbilt University, U of I in Urbana-Champaign. I got a full tuition at Iowa State University as well. The difference between us and other schools, I think, is the family. How we call ourselves a family and how we pride ourselves on being a family. And I really admire Dr. Davis for doing that, because somebody could just easily go to a school and just feel like they're just there to take classes and there to get good grades. But Dr. Davis has really implemented this system of family to where you come to school and you actually feel a part of something. You actually feel connected to those around you.
Good morning, Southland. I'm Erica Satchel.
And I'm Brianna Carpenter with your SCP TV morning announcement.
We give 100% every day. We act in a way that leaves a lasting impression. We act in a way that earns the trust of others. We are ready and willing to work hard. We each need to perform to the best of our abilities. We always leave a place better than we found it. We are role models for other students. When we all pull together, we can move mountains. We can give back to our community. We are Southland College Pride.
We start every morning with family meetings, 7:45 to 8 o'clock, and that's an opportunity to convene the juniors and seniors to share information that would be of interest and importance that all seniors or all juniors would need to know. Most of it this time of year is obviously related to the college admissions process, financing college scholarships, FAFSA, everything that's related to that.
We begin in the summer by calling each parent in individually. And we ask them to bring everybody in the family that has anything to do with this. Some of them bring grandparents in, but they come as a family unit. And the conversation is, where, after your child leaves here, where do you see them in 4 years? Where do you see them in 6 years? Where do you see them in 8 years? If you know people on a level where you've had a conversation about their dreams and their hopes, then you know them on a whole different level.
Our college placement starts at the end of junior year. So in that meeting, I will have copies of their grades, their ACT, SAT scores, some qualitative narrative from their instructors, from their teachers, my own sort of non-scientific evaluation of them. And then we'll sit down in this 101 and we'll start out with, okay, where would you like to go?
I think really it comes down to Mr. Anderson and Mr. Lang, because they really sit with you and really help you understand, what's going on when it comes to post-high school life and how to understand where you're going and what's the best decision for you.
They're always available. So whenever we had a college deadline coming up, you can instantly email them and have them review your essay for you, and then they give you feedback immediately. And it's just if something doesn't sound quite right, they'll fix it for you, and then they'll let you know. They were great teachers in the whole process because there were some things I didn't even understand. And with the help of them, it not only made it easier, it kind of builds your confidence a little bit, because when you apply to colleges, you have that worry of, will I get in? But with their help, it's you're just building your self-esteem more, and it's just you're just excited to hear from these schools because your application is so strong.
We're at about $21 million of institutional money. And I say institutional money, that means these are the dollars that the schools have committed to these students. And those scholarships are typically 4-year renewable scholarships contingent upon students maintaining a GPA that's already been set, and sometimes there are other things that students have to do in order for that scholarship to roll over.
Our greatest accomplishment is really not the ACT, it's the persistence rate that we've been able to send these children to college, and they're there making it.
I've been in band all 4 years. I've been playing the trumpet for about 7 years now. I'm involved in the National Honor Society. We focus on character, leadership, service, and scholar. So those are the 4 pillars that we pride ourselves on.
We have to maintain a 3.5 GPA. We have to have at least 30 hours of community service, which includes regular and leadership hours. And then we have to have an interview, and you have to get scored. And then if you get a high score, then you can be inducted. And then on top of that, you have to do another 4 projects where you have to present a character essay in front of your whole class. You have to get more community service hours. You have to maintain your 3.5 GPA, and you have to do a personal project.
Yeah, you're going to have to bring those forward, and you have to change each one of these. That's why I was saying I think it's going to be easier for you to design from a blank page and then start to incorporate, you know what I mean? So if you like this idea, maybe have a split screen so you can see okay, this is how I want to set it up, but then these are what I want to incorporate.
So freshmen, first year, they come in 21st century technology, where they do an intro basically to computers. And they go in, they'll do some basic HTML. They'll learn about the Office suite of applications. They'll do some keyboarding. They'll do some internet etiquette. They'll practice safe computing skills. Second second year, they go into computer science, where they actually start doing some coding, HTML, and they put programs together. They're doing websites. From there, they go into broadcast journalism, where they actually go into digital content. So they're filming events, school-related events. Digital publishing is their fourth year, where they're actually creating a portfolio, basically meant to get them into college and showcase who they are. So that's the technology curriculum, 4 years.
That's where it is. That's what technology, we live in 21st century. So that's what they have to know how to do and how to do those things. So, a lot of things, I think my son probably already knows how to do a lot of things as far as technology wise, but I think I really see it as just as far as integrating it in the classroom as being a really positive thing.
It helps build everything. We don't have to deal with slow computers, and you just have access to so many things because the more updated your technology is, the more resources you have. So I'm so excited we have good technology here.
We found out that one of our students was related to Katherine Johnson in Hidden Figures. And the idea was presented that we go to the movie, watch the movie together. The extension of that were writing projects, etc. There's really no one to ask. Notification of the board is really all that we had to do. And so we have that kind of flexibility to evaluate and to make a course change.
We had our math department teaching the formulas that were talked about in the movie. The English department, all 500 plus students wrote letters to Katherine Johnson, thanking her for her contributions. We set up a little letter museum that we're finishing for our African American history presentations and program tonight. So once again, all departments working together with this really incredible opportunity that presented itself.
A charter school is just a public school. That's really all. And I felt like we were trying to do something that was so different. I still don't understand the nature of the discomfort, but I feel it. It's almost tangible.
People have so many perspectives on Southland, and they can always talk about how bad it is. But I feel like when you come here, what you put in is what you get out. And I like that too, because it's just your talents are never hidden here. So it's just, if you're a hard worker, that always gets acknowledged. And sometimes, people fall under the light.
I was totally unaware that just the word charter denotes something negative. I think that it possibly has to do with the fact that some charter schools are for profit. Maybe that's it. But the essence of the lawsuit was that within 3 years, the foundation district would close because of the money that they're losing. The foundation district actually has $4 million more in their reserves than they had. They've actually paid off 25% of their debt since we opened. So it is untrue that they were ever in danger of closing.
But it's a travesty to have to pay for quality of education. I just don't believe in that. Not for your elementary, your secondary, your high school type stuff. I just don't believe you should have to pay for that. So finding out that there's a public school that doesn't charge tuition, great, is what I think we need. But, sometimes I think I've heard stories of parents coming in and saying, wow, and it's free? We don't have to pay anything? Are you sure?
I really feel like I'm making a difference with these students' lives. And that's why I left my last career and came and decided to be a teacher, as I wanted to make a difference.
Mr. Anderson, with my daughter, when she was going through the process, and how he made personal phone calls, or they really looked for ways to really help her achieve her dream. And so that I will forever be grateful to Southland and Dr. Davis and the administrators and the teachers and the different people for that.
I don't have to get up every day saying, oh my God, I gotta go to this job. I get up because I wanna go to the job. And then the second part of it, it's the children. How could you not, come here and help them? So it doesn't matter that my kids are gone. I was vested a long time ago when they were trying to build the school. And I can remember helping fight for the school. And a gentleman told up that and said to me, there's no guarantee that your kids would even get into the school. And I turned to him and I said, it doesn't matter. It's not just about my children, it's about the children in the community, right? So my children would be okay, but it is about the children in the community. And so I was blessed and fortunate to have my kids get in, but I'm still giving back to these kids every day.